There are foods that you think are healthy that no one has ever told you about that can be the root cause of your health issue.
Buckle up, this list is a doozy.
Welcome to Root Cause Holistic Health. I'm Dr. Jon Harmon, physician, brain health expert, and your host on this no-fluff journey into whole body healing.
And I'm Tracy Green, wellness coach, mom, and co-host. This is the space where we get real about what actually heals, not just what's trending.
If you're done with surface level advice and ready to understand your body, your mind, and your health from the inside out, this podcast is for you.
We're here for the raw conversations most people avoid. We don't sugarcoat, we don't shame. We offer tools, truths, and transformation.
Welcome back to Root Cause Holistic. I'm Dr. Jon Harmon, and with me is my co-host, Tracy Green.
Today we are going to be discussing the vagus nerve. Dr. Harmon, I know that in the 35 years of chiropractic care, you've seen a lot of different situations. Let's talk about the vagus nerve and how so many different ailments can hide behind something so simple as the vagus nerve.
And that's an interesting question because the first chiropractic adjustments were on the top segment in the spine called the atlas. C1 is another name for that. There are so many functions that get affected when our atlas goes out, and it's all because of the relationship with the vagus nerves. So a little bit of anatomy. The vagus nerves come out of some little holes in the bottom of the skull called foramina, and then those two nerves on either side come right back. If you follow your chin line up, right where it meets the ear, about right there, but on the front side of the atlas bone, that's where the vagus nerves are. And so if that goes out of alignment, let's say it's rotated, it's pushing forward on the right and pulling on the left. That means it's pushing on the vagus nerve on the right and tractioning it on the left. So chiropractors, since the very first chiropractor, have been adjusting the atlas bone and talking about how it affects digestion, it affects sleep, it affects immune system. That's the reason, is because that's part of the role of our parasympathetic. The vagus nerve is part of that. But having hearty vagal tone is what helps us deal with stress. Now, if someone is in an auto accident, the injury will cause inflammation. The inflammation can either just resolve and everything goes back to normal, or it can resolve with scar tissue. Now, zoom in to where that vagus nerve literally lies on the front aspect of the atlas. If the inflammation was so great, and you're not going to feel this right after the accident, 6 weeks later, and now someone starts to have anxiety.
So you're saying you get in a car accident, you get treated with chiropractic care, and this part could be missed. And then some symptoms can pop up later on.
Correct. So we have these vagus nerves that come out of the little holes in the bottom of the skull, and they traverse right across the front aspect of the atlas on either side. So if somebody's in an auto accident, they get their head whipped around, there's inflammation, there's pain, there's dysfunction. Even after getting treatment, later on, someone can start to have kind of weird symptoms. And it might show up as anxiety. It might show up as insomnia. Because I now have a vagus nerve that's getting tugged on every time I turn my neck.
Oh, wow. Interesting. So how would someone know if they have this?
It's very, very simple, and trying to describe it in detail as I do it on myself so I can visualize somebody doing this. So if you take your index finger.
All right, let's do this together,
Okay.
everybody.
So your pointer finger, you're going to turn the pad of your fingertip towards the back of you.
Okay.
If you're going to point behind you, it would be in that position. But the pad of your finger, you're going to find the edge of the jaw corner right here on your jawbone.
Got the
I
job.
won't call it by the anatomical name. Make sure that your fingertip is pointing towards the rear. And right from the bottom of the ear, with the tragus of the ear, you're going to take your finger, and if you're doing the right side, you might turn it a little bit to the left and you'll feel this kind of a little protrusion there. That's the atlas. If you rub on that and it's really tender, there's a chance, it's probable that you have an atlas, you have an adhesion to the atlas. Do both sides, one side, then the other. If one of them is whoa, or both of them, you can have adhesions on both.
Or tender. If one or both,
One-
tender.
Or very tender. Now, it's kind of a tender spot anyway, but I'm talking about, like a 5, 4 or 5 at least out of 10. And so what do? To your tolerance, you're going to take that fingertip and you're going to just rub up and down to your tolerance. Don't hurt yourself. Just rub that for about a minute, at least a minute a day, until it doesn't hurt anymore. And when you reach up there and it doesn't hurt, now you're not pushing so hard, you want to push your atlas out of alignment. It's just, mild to moderate pressure. You're just kind of jiggling that around to break up those little scar tissue adhesions.
What I love about this is stuff that we've talked about before, getting to the root cause.
Correct.
So instead of anxiety, going to the GP and getting a prescription for it, maybe there's a healthier option. It could be an old injury that didn't get healed correctly.
Correct. And this is why we actually check for this when someone comes in to my office, because we help people with brain issues. They come in with anxiety. I want to make sure it's not something really simple, like the root cause.
I wonder how many chiropractors, I've been to several in my 48 years on this planet. I've been to several chiropractors and I've never heard of,
Those adhesions.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be frank with you, always. I didn't hear about that until about 6 years ago. And I've been a chiropractor for 35 years.
So it's not something that every
No.
chiropractor goes to has it.
No, it was a specialized course that I took from a guy who specializes in the neurology of all of this stuff. And so it was really fascinating. And I have found it in people who presented with anxiety, and we have to make sure that that isn't causing their anxiety.
Wow. Are there certain, anxiety and insomnia, are there a certain list of, or is it all different? Everybody's different?
Yeah, everybody's different.
Okay.
And it depends on how severe it is. Sometimes it can be, mild to moderate, and nobody will ever look there, sadly. But it's something you can do at home.
Is it always from an injury?
It's either from repetitive use injury.
Okay, so like a football player?
Well, a football player, or let's say as a teenager, you went to concerts and you're doing a lot of head banging.
Okay.
It's actually a question on our questionnaire to find out what their history is. Did you have a concussion? Did you fall and hit your head? Did you go to concerts and go in the mosh pits and do head banging?
Wow. Okay.
And I had to have conversations with young people when those were kind of popular. I don't know if they are anymore, but I said, you're giving yourself a whiplash by doing the head banging. And so we actually had one woman come in. She had terrible anxiety, and I'm going through it, asking her. She said it happened when I was about 15. I was playing 4 instruments. I was involved in sports, and then all of a sudden I couldn't do any of that, and I had bad anxiety. Well, let's go through. And then I thought to ask, did you go to concerts a lot? Did you ever do any head banging? She looked at me like I was a prophet or something. But what happened was that's when it started. She was going in the mosh pits and and get shoved around and head whipped around. She's good now, but it was interesting. So, and it's at that point that we started putting it in our paperwork, in our initial paperwork, to find out.
The things you learn.
I know, it's crazy.
And being, a teenager or in your 20s going to a concert headbanging, you don't really think about the long-term effects of causing your concussion to yourself.
And they don't want to hear that from a parent.
Of course not.
Parents can tell their kids a lot of things, and then whatever. And I just keep doing it. But at least the parents can warn them,
Mhm.
you know? Hey, I heard this podcast. Dr. Harmon said, if you're whipping your neck around, you have a sprain, and it can affect a lot of different things. Hopefully they'll listen.
I love it.
Patient, heal thyself.
There you go. Getting to the root cause of your head banging days turns into anxiety later on.
Right.
So, as you know, if you've been following me for very long, you know that I am very big on reading the back of labels. I have been reading the back of labels daily for the last 10 years, ever since we found my daughter had a food sensitivity to corn and eggs. So, it's our daily life, what we're used to. Except for the fact, until recently, I realized that the only thing that I looked for on a bottle of wine was whether or not it had sulfites. Because every once in a while I would end up with a headache. And I think, oh, maybe it was the sulfites because I had heard somewhere along the line that sulfates could cause headaches. Now, the further we dive into ingredients and topics, I have now learned that you really do need to read the back of labels of every wine bottle.
Well, not only that, here's the bad news about American wines.
Don't want bad news.
American winemakers are allowed to have 76 different additives in the wine that they don't have to list.
So even if we read the back of the label,
Correct.
there's still hidden.
The only thing they have to report is sulfites. And let me tell you a little story about sulfites, and then we'll talk about some positive stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
So there's some good news.
Yes. So American wine makers want to have a high alcohol content.
Of course.
Because you pick up the bottle, oh, that's only 12 and a half, that's only 13. That we want to have 15, 14 and a half, 15. And so in order to achieve that, what do? Well, they have to add more sugar, and they have to add yeast that does not occur on the grapes. So it's from the outside. It's something that will ferment into alcohol. And so they're measuring the alcohol content, and right when it gets to what they want, they have to put sulfites in to kill the yeast. So now we have a higher content of sulfites, not just from what naturally occurs during this fermentation process that lives on the grapes. So the grapes have that. Traditionally, you see people, they squishing the
Stomping on the
grape, stomping on the
grapes.
grape, and then they make wine, and they've done that for who knows how long. But now American wine makers have changed that. But here's the good news. The European Union does not allow those things in the wine. This is why people can say, I went to Italy and I drank wine and I didn't get a headache. I felt good. I ate bread. I didn't get gut ache, because they don't allow those things over there. Hopefully that's changing soon. But this is why you might not just get a headache. You may have some other really bad symptom. It depends on what's in that specific wine. Pesticide, coloring, all kinds of things that they put in that wine. I mean, it's kind of sad. It makes me want to start whining.
Absolutely. I'm sitting here thinking of all of the wine that I've had over the years and feeling awful the next day. And it could be a lot of different things. If there's so many different ingredients.
76.
That was
So,
incredible.
I mean, when I go to a restaurant, the first thing I ask them when they say, would you like to see the wine list? Do you have any European wines? And if they say no, I don't even want to see it. I don't want to see wines from California, Oregon, Washington. It might say organic, but still they don't have to list that on the label. They don't have to list any of those ingredients.
Even the organic labels, because
It hasn't.
I have seen some more organic labels popping up because that's all the craze now. People are looking at labels, which we've talked about
Right.
on other episodes with QR codes and things. So even labeled organic, there's still things hiding.
You don't know for sure. That's all I can say.
Unless it's European.
Correct, because they don't allow it. They're allowed to add them in America. And so you don't really know. Until that changes, I would recommend go with the European. Even New Zealand. You got New Zealand, Australia, Austria, Germany, France, all of the European, any country in the European Union.
We have some selection.
You do.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a really good Argentinian Malbec that's popular in a lot of restaurants. Unless you're one that doesn't bother, but even if it doesn't cause symptoms, you still have those things in there.
And what really concerns me, and we will talk about this on another show, is the forever chemicals.
Yeah.
That we are unable to process. And I don't think that people really understand what that means, especially moms. We're the mom. We're supposed to be getting things for our family. We should know what forever chemical. I feel like feel like every mom needs to know what a
What are forever chemicals?
Yeah, and what does that mean to your child?
That's another podcast.
Total, yes, it is. That'll be a long podcast.
Yeah. So if you enjoy a glass of wine, for now, make sure that it's not American. Sorry, American winemakers, until you change your ways.
So how many people are in their wine cabinet right now?
Going through it. Yeah. Is it from, yeah. Well, maybe other people can stop whining about the headache they get when they don't drink that kind of wine.
And we will talk about this on another show. A short little intro to some foods that you might think are healthy.
Yes, and that is a big topic. There's a lot of talk about superfoods. A lot of talk, more people are aware of things that we eat because of what's going on right now in our government, and more scrutiny is going to what's been going into our food. We all know about the, petroleum-based food dyes that are, mandated to get those out of there. But today it's a little bit different, and it might be the first time that people listening to this have heard these words from anyone's mouth. Here it is.
Are you ready?
There are foods that you think are healthy that no one has ever told you about that can be the root cause of your health issue.
Buckle up. This list is a doozy.
Okay. I'll never forget, I was at a Cellcore conference. It's a nutrition company actually founded by a friend of mine. And there was a speaker, and he said these words. He said, first he asked the question, and there are all docs and practitioners out in the audience, and he said, how many double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled studies are there that show that vegetables are good for you? 0.
Your whole life, eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables.
How many double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled studies are there that show that meat is harmful for you? 0. And it blew me away because I was raised by a crunchy mom clear back in the 60s. I was born in 54, and she's always talking about this and that. You got to eat this, and that's not good. This is good. But it turns out, there's new information now. And when he said, plants are for medicine, meat is for food, it blew me away. And he said, plants make things to kill their predators. And then he named them. There's oxalates, there's sulfites, there is gluten, lectins, and on of these things that make people sick. And in addition to that, there are foods in the FODMAP category. Those, if you have a sensitivity to those, and it's all according to your gut, the bacteria in your gut, your microbiome. If you have a low tolerance for those, the 2 foods you think are really healthy for you, garlic and onion, are the 2 worst foods you could possibly eat.
So how would someone know that?
It's very, very difficult unless you do an elimination diet. And how do you eliminate, especially when this happens? And we're going to be going into this in great detail later, but this is an introduction. So if you have leaky gut, you can become sensitive or allergic to any food, because instead of your gut lining keeping everything out that's not digested as it goes through the digestive tract. And now the simple amino acids, the fats, the sugars just travel right across the lining of our gut or are carried over into the bloodstream. If you have gaps in that, now a piece of broccoli might get in there and your system goes, holy cow, you're not supposed to be here, attack. And now I'm going to make an antibody to that food. And now when I eat that food, I'm going to get inflamed. But I want to compare this to sneaker waves. I live in Idaho, and next door is Oregon. And so we go to the Oregon coast, and I took my family there when they were growing up 15 years in a row. And there's always these signs along the coast, along the beach. Watch out for sneaker waves. So sneaker waves are kind of like a small tidal wave. They're out in the ocean somewhere, the random action of the waves, 3 or 4 waves will summate. They add together, and instead of a 1-foot wave, you got a 4-foot wave, or a 4-foot wave, you got a 12-foot wave. And so we make judgments as we're walking along the cliffs. The waves are crashing clear out there. I'm safe. In comes a sneaker wave. Every year, someone dies. They get washed out to sea. And the reason I bring that up is because in order for a food to cause enough inflammation that you have symptoms, you have to eat it several times in a row, like three days in a row. You'll get a little inflammation the first day. If you don't eat it again for 4 days, the inflammation goes down. This is the mistake people make. They say, I ate chocolate and I didn't react. I can eat chocolate. I'm going to eat a pound of it now.
They didn't get enough of it.
Yeah, because I've been so deprived.
Yeah.
And I start eating it and eating it, and then I just keep going. And now they're in trouble because they do have a sensitivity to chocolate, but they blame something else. So think of the foods. First of all, it's hard to eliminate. And I tell people, just switch over to meat for a while, or protein source. But the problem is with other protein sources, now you have, pea protein or you have whey protein, and it might be that.
Yes.
And so in order to efficiently and accurately find out what it is that's causing this reaction, and it's not always from a food sensitivity test, you could be someone who needs to lower down FODMAP foods that have fructans and galactans in them, and because you'll ferment it like garlic and onion. So that won't come from a food sensitivity test. So this is, people make the big mistake. Well, I tested for 500 and some odd foods, and it says I'm not allergic to broccoli. I'm going to eat a lot of broccoli because I can't eat very many things. And now they're in trouble because that's on the FODMAP. That's high FODMAP.
Okay, so spell that. So I don't think a lot of people have heard
Capital FOD, capital MAP.
So what would someone do?
You can look it up. They're good charts.
Okay. So
Good
that's
chart
the best
online.
chart.
Just Google FODMAP chart.
I feel like everybody's looking to be healthier, especially with what's going on with our government that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So there's been a light shed on red dye 44, or all the different chemicals that are added to our food system. So I feel like a lot of people are more aware of what they're eating, so they're looking at ingredients. So looking up a chart like that would be real beneficial.
It's a good guide.
Absolutely.
And then when you get really into the weeds, Google low oxalate diet or low sulfite diet. And so not sulfate, but sulfite. And so it gets to be a real maze and so frustrating for people.
We're all different. So what's going to work for you isn't going to work for me.
And there's no one test that will tell you what food it is. And so sometimes you have to be your own detective and eliminate those things. And they go, well, what do I eat? Meat, grass-fed, grass-finished beef. It's not going to hurt you. There's no double-blind study that says it's harmful. And then you can eat that for a while. And when you have no symptoms, start introducing something in. Eat it, 2-3 days in a row. Don't do anything else. And see if now I can add that. But if I can't, you don't know why it is.
It's interesting that you go to the carnivore diet, because I would have thought you would immediately go to like a plant-based, but that's where the issue is. Because people think vegetables.
Okay.
That's the route that I would have gone,
Yeah.
not the carnivore diet.
Yeah. So if you are needing a low FODMAP diet, the things that you think are healthy, garlic, onion, broccoli, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, worst foods for you to eat.
Cabbage all the time.
And
all the
if you
time.
have sensitivity to oxalates, spinach,
Oh, so everybody puts spinach.
blueberries.
So all the people putting spinach in their protein shakes.
They're putting the superfood. I have a healthy diet. I get this shake, and I throw in 2 handfuls of spinach, and I put this and that and these fruits and these things. But you know what? I don't know what's going on because I don't feel well. In spite of having the superfood shake in the morning, I feel like crap.
So is that something somebody could Google? Like I have
Oxalates, yes.
oxalates.
Yeah. There are lots of charts because a lot of people have this. It's not something that I made up or discovered, but look up low oxalate diet or high oxalate foods. Potatoes.
That could be issues people might face if they're having a hard time gaining weight, losing weight, muscles.
Absolutely.
It's everything is back to your diet.
Absolutely.
The root cause of anything pretty much starts in your gut. So what are you eating?
Right. And you have to look at it like this. Why is my gut doing that? Well, I will bet probably almost everyone who's listening has had antibiotics at some point in their life. So this will be another podcast about the gut microbiome and inability to tolerate certain foods or digest them because we don't digest them, or we do, but we ferment them into things that are poison to us. That is another topic. Thanks for listening today. We are going to dive deep into that in longer episodes. So we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Root Cause Holistic Health. We're here to help you uncover what's really going on and empower you to take the next step in your healing journey.
Whether you're a mom, a dad, or just someone ready to stop settling for Band-Aid fixes, we hope today's episode gave you something to think about.
If you found this episode valuable, do us a favor, share it with someone you love, and leave a review so we can reach more families like yours.
Make sure to hit follow so you don't miss next week's episode. We've got more honest conversations, practical tips, and root cause wisdom coming your way.
Until next time, stay grounded, stay curious, and most of all, stay connected to what truly matters.
We'll see you next time on Root Cause Holistic Health.